Call the meeting to order. Today is March 13th, 2023. This is our regular session board meeting of the McDowell County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight, and we always appreciate the public coming out to our meetings. So we're looking forward to great involvement tonight with citizens of the county. We'll go ahead and start our meeting, as always, with a prayer and a pledge. And we're going to ask Commissioner Greene to lead us in our prayer, and Commissioner Ellis will lead us in the pledge.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight. We come thanking you for your blessings and your mercies. Most of all, for forgiveness of sin. We thank you for your Son who died on the cross for our salvation. We pray, Father, as we go into the business tonight, that you will give us wisdom, give us patience. Father, we pray to go through the agenda the way that we need to. Father, we pray that the decisions we make will be the best for all the citizens of this county. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I hear approval, a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. First on the appointments tonight, we've got under item A is National Board Certified Teacher Recognition, and so I'm going to invite Mr. Oliver up to the podium and let him introduce these fine folks.
Thanks, sir. Chairman Brown, members of the board, honored guests, and citizens of McDowell County, thanks for allowing me to brag on some excellent staff members tonight from our school district. The National Board Certification is a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. National Board Certification has national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. There are 4 components that teachers have to pass in order to become a National Board Certified teacher. The 4 components of the certification process are content knowledge, differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, and effective and reflective practitioner. Research shows that candidates for National Board Certification demonstrate significant improvement in their teaching practice. Analyzing and reflecting on daily practice during candidacy helps teachers focus on their strengths and areas of improvement and gives them ideas for improving their teaching. North Carolina also ranks first nationally in the percentage of all teachers who have earned board certification, with nearly 1/4, 23%, of all teachers in the state holding certification. McDowell County Schools is very fortunate to have 51 nationally board certified teachers. McDowell County has developed a partnership with Bloom Board to offer support to anyone who is pursuing national board certification. That will allow them to work with a coach that will guide and evaluate their submission before they officially submit. We have 4 individuals that obtained their national board certification this past year. We also have several more educators that obtained part of their certification and will continue to work towards their initial certification this coming year. The 4 newly certified educators are, first I'm going to recognize Marlene Duncan, who is not with us today, but Marlene teaches at Pleasant Gardens Elementary, and I think she has a maybe sick child. So next we have, and when I call your name, please come forward. Next, I'd like to recognize Ms. Ashley Greene from West Marion Elementary School. Ashley, here you are.
Do you want me to stand? Do I face this way?
I think you should face the audience so they can see you. They don't need to see me. Next is Donna Pyatt from Pleasant Gardens Elementary School. And last is Daniel Smith from McDowell High School. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to just say a few words about what national boards mean to you. And after that, we're going to all give you a big round of applause. So.
All right, national boards was definitely one of the most challenging but rewarding experiences that I have done so far. I'm very pleased to have achieved this status in my career. I'm the media coordinator at West Marion Elementary School. I've spent my entire teaching career at West Marion. I've been there 18 years, and I have been the media coordinator for 14 years. So I started my national boards journey last fall, and it took me a year to complete all 4 components. And I learned more about myself and how I need to improve my teaching, and I learned a lot about my students. I learned a lot about my community. It gave me a great opportunity to talk to parents and find out what they thought their children's reading needs were and how they learned successfully. I did a lot of questionnaires and surveys about how their children learn best. And I was able to collaborate with many teachers at West Marion on lesson plans, and they were very gracious to give me their students whenever I needed them, and lots of papers, lots of writing. Writing is not something I thought of that I did well. My coach was very helpful. I had a lot of mentors in my field online that helped out with the process, and I'm very thankful that it is over, but I'm thankful that I did it also. And I also said that I would say that my father-in-law helped me so much during national boards to proofread those papers and give me advice, and he did nothing. But that's one of my mentions. So thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate it.
Donna Pyatt, I will be the first to admit I did not pass my first time. And I think that failure was part of the learning and growing process. It took me 3 times, actually. So I started in 2020, and it was one of those things where you beat yourself up every day. And I thought, I'm not good enough for this. I can't do this anymore. And there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of crying. But through perseverance, and I think that's one of the things that, one of the best lessons that I can teach in my classroom. So there's a lot of reflective practice that goes into achieving national board certification. And when I look back from where I started, and I've been teaching since 2021, for a long time. This is my 21st year of teaching. So I started in 2020 with my national boards, but been teaching for a long time, and every year I grow a little bit more, but it was just that one little thing. It's like, I wasn't quite there as far as my writing, improving and stuff like that. But I've learned that it's the children that move you forward every day, and you grow and you learn every day, and if you go in with a heart and teach with your heart, it did pay off. So it was a very rewarding process, and again, I do appreciate every bit of encouragement, because there's such an encouraging group of teachers in every school that have gone through the same thing. Some said, I just can't do it anymore. It makes you feel really bad. I was like, if I didn't do it this time, I was like, I think I'm going to retire early. I said, I think that's just a sign. I just need to head on out. But thanks to the good Lord above, I did persevere, and I'm tickled to be here today.
So I'm Daniel Smith. I've been at McDowell High School 23 years, I think now. I came with Millennium, and so COVID happened a few years back, that little thing we don't want to remember. But it changed a lot of stuff in education. My wife was working on her national boards, and it was her year, and March happened, and we had no more students. So she had to finish her national board submission with what she had collected up to that point. And she made it, she got it. So that kind of inspired me to try again, because this was not my first time trying. I tried in around 2004, got close, didn't make it, resubmitted a couple of the pieces, got lower scores, and just decided that was it. I was not going to try again. And so years later, my wife inspired me to try again, and so I got it. Got it in 1 year, so I'm kind of proud of that. It took me 2 years because I made an error in the submission. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So it took me 2 years, but I actually did it in 1 year. It's a challenging process. You feel really good when it's over, and you do feel like you have learned a lot. And no one does this alone. Everyone has people that inspire them. The students inspire us, our families. Our families kind of take a back seat because we've got to work on national boards and get so much done. So it really is one of those things that takes a lot of support, and we very much appreciate that. And thank you for continuing to support education in McDowell County. We do what we can. We've got some great students, and I'm planning to finish out my 30 whatever years here, and I think that's about it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys stay out here just a moment, please, and we're going to present you with these.
They have something more.
You guys will come on down and present them to me. Get a picture.
Thank you very much.
Let me read this. This is from the County of McDowell, North Carolina, Certificate of Accomplishments. This certificate is awarded to Ashley Greene for extensive efforts and accomplishment in receiving the Distinguished National Board Certification for Professional Teaching Standards by the McDowell County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you very much.
And the next one. Donna. Okay. Donna, this goes to Donna Pyatt. We appreciate what you have done, Donna. I'm going to read that one over again. And this one goes to Daniel Smith. I just want to say on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we appreciate this accomplishment. That took a lot of dedication to the county and to the school system. And we're very proud of you. And as I think was mentioned by Mr. Oliver a while ago, number one out of the state in this accomplishment.
Our state is number one in the country. We're in good standing within the state. I don't know exactly where we are, but we have 51.
Anyway, that's great news. I'm very proud of it. Thanks very much. These other guys might have a word to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, I've got 3 kids that are in public school, and they all go to West Marion, and so they love Miss Greene right here. She doesn't want their dog in there, just like all of y'all do. So thank you so much for your great accomplishment. We're so very proud of y'all.
Thank you very much.
I will say that there is a little babysitting that goes on from time to time when teachers have to go through this, but I'm not going to single Ashley out so much because don't want to take any light away from the others, but if you knew what some of these teachers have to go through with family sacrificing and everything else that goes into this, and as these two have mentioned, the struggles that it takes to get there and the perseverance that it takes to get there. We are so very proud of you, and I just want to tell you, we live in the best place in the United States that we could live and have the best teachers. I served 3 terms on the school board, and I can tell you that we've got teachers in McDowell County that care about your children.
Thank you all for your service and congratulations. I know the personal sacrifice in getting that, it's a lot of personal dedication, and it probably gets a lot of stress on you, but forward thinking that you had to try again, that is a very good teaching element, and I greatly appreciate you all doing this.
Let's give them another hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I appreciate the babysitting and the cooking.
Gentlemen.
Hello, brother. Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on the agenda, item D, is the Parks and Recreation update. We've got Chad Marsh here tonight to give us that update. So, Chuck, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's always a pleasure to come before the board. Sir, to start off with tonight, if it pleases the board, I'm going to turn the initial portion over to Duke Energy representative who's here to talk about the project out at Blackwood.
Thank you, Chad.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Particularly appreciate it. And
Keep going.
thank you. So we've been talking about Black Bear for a really long time, since about 2006. In 2019, we came and spoke to you about what was happening. So we were getting ready to break ground, we were heading into the project, and we're excited to come tonight and talk to you about what's been built and what's being built, and specifically about the lease at this point. So I believe that you have a couple of exhibits in front of you. And I should have started, my apologies. My name is Jennifer Bennett, and I am a project manager in the Water Strategy and Hydro Licensing Group at Duke Energy. And I'm specifically a recreation planner. So I have the Upper Catawba, which includes this Black Bear area. So as I said, we'd specifically like to talk about the leasing of this site between Duke Energy and the county. But I thought we'd go back and do a brief overview. Chad, you might have to help me. Look at backwards. Try that. I'm good at recreation, I'm not good at technology, so. Maybe the computer? You're just waiting for that way. Yeah, that's perfect, thank you. So a brief review of some history of how we ended up here. I think everybody's familiar with the Catawba Watery Hydroelectric License process. And so in 2006, Duke Energy submitted a license application to the FERC. And that included the Comprehensive Relicensing Agreement components, which we refer to as the CRA. FERC issued a 40-year license in November of 2015, and that required Duke Energy to draft and submit a recreation management plan, or an RMP, within 1 year of that license issuance. So the RMP was submitted in 2016 and subsequently approved by the FERC in December of 2017. And so that leads us here. Black Bear was specifically a component of the Comprehensive Relicensing Agreement, which means it was included in the stakeholder negotiations, and there were stakeholders here who asked for that implementation and those recreational facilities to be constructed there. It was also included in the RMP, in the Recreation Management Plan. And the specific details went down to the facilities that would be built on the site in addition to the existing boat ramp that's there. The fact that there would be a lease offer to the county, that we would work with the county and collaborate on the construction and the design, as well as the management strategy. So looking forward to the specifics of the lease, which is what you have in front of you, and for review. Duke Energy in McDowell County, it was noted that we would enter into an Access Area Improvement Initiative lease. And we refer to that as an AAII. It's a FERC-approved mechanism that we have to lease access areas to municipalities, cities, counties, to operate them as parks and recreation facilities. And it gives them the option to add additional recreation facilities if they so desire through the term of the lease. There's no lease fee associated with the project. And the leasing term is consistent with our hydroelectric license. So in this case, it would run to November of 2055. And it would, of course, be eligible for renewals or any subsequent license renewals that we would have. The Black Bear Boating Access Area is currently maintained by the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, and that would remain in place, that agreement. So it would be a collaborative maintenance arrangement with the Wildlife Commission as well as Duke Energy. They would also retain the long-term management responsibility of a fishing pier that's to be located in the day use area. The county would assume the responsibility for the day-to-day operations of that part of the facility. McDowell County can, as I noted, add additional recreation facilities as long as it's consistent with the FERC license and the recreation management plan. And that being recreation that really has a direct nexus to the use of the project. So anything that really makes a unique experience because that facility would be located next to the lake. So wildlife viewing, additional trails, things like that.
Okay. So moving into some of the specifics of what has been constructed at Black Bear Access Area by Duke Energy. This is in active construction, and we're pretty far along in it now. So we have the majority of the day use area complete. The campsites are moving right along. The majority of the infrastructure is there. And before I go over this, I'll note our intention is to wrap up mid-summer of this year and then be able to put it into use. So in the day use area, and I'll note the day use and the campsites areas are brand new construction. So those sites were not impacted before. The only thing that was there was that boat ramp and the 2 large parking lots associated with it. The day use area includes dispersed picnic tables, a picnic shelter that will have 8 tables within the shelter area. It has a vault toilet, and it will have a fishing pier. So the fishing pier will be constructed by North Carolina Wildlife Resources per the comprehensive relicensing agreement, and that will come likely later this year or early next year. The path is into it. There are trails that are located on the site. So a portion of the Fonta Flora Trail runs actually through the north side of the site across the entrances. And then within the site itself, there's a Fonta Flora connector trail that connects the day use area up to the main portion of the Fonta Flora Trail that runs through the site, as well as a campground loop trail that is internal to the campground and really intended for people who are staying there to use that trail. And the campground area, which is perhaps the most exciting of the project, has 38 campsites associated with it. 5 of those campsites have cabin pads included, and the county has the option to add cabins to those sites. And they are, essentially they're already poured and flattened, and infrastructure is run up to the cabins. So it has power running up to the center of that site. The sites can be used as both or as either or. So they are existing usable sites now with tent pads in it, but you can add the cabin there on that same site. There's 2 ADA sites and 2 RV sites. So those RV sites could be used for mixed use as far as park office, campground host, things like that. And those are the 2 sites in the campground area that have full hookups associated with them, and it intended for a longer term management structure stay. And as I noted, the estimated completion it's midsummer of this year. And so this is small, and I understand that on the site, but you have this exhibit in front of you. And I'm going to see, not that I'm too far. Chad, is there a pointer on this one? Oh, there it is. And so this is the exhibit with the trails highlighted on it. And what I wanted to show you was the yellow trail that comes through the north side of the site, the Fonta Flora Trail. And that really doesn't impact the existing boat ramp facilities or the additional day use or campground facilities. But there is a connection trail that runs out from the bottom of this day use facility here, which is where your picnic shelter, dispersed picnicking, and fishing pier is located, and runs up to connect to the trail. And then you also have your campground loop that comes off of that trail and circles the campground area here. So moving on to the next exhibit, and you can see this again in the second exhibit that you have in front of you. This is the campground area, and it shows the 38 sites. And so then the numbering construct on that will likely change, but the number of sites won't change. And so the number of tent sites here, your RV sites are here as you enter the site, would be the first thing that someone would come to. And then we also have additional primitive walk-in sites that are located at the end of that area. There's some additional walk-in sites. As you can see where the driveway cuts here, these sites are also walk-in sites. So that provides an overview, and I should point out that this, for your bearings, this is the existing boat ramp day use area. So boat ramps are located here, this is the lower parking lot, and this is the upper parking lot. And that site was improved as part of this construction project. In fact, the entire lower portion of the parking lot area was milled out and repaved, and a vault toilet added to that site, as I mentioned. So I did want to provide some photos of our active construction if you can see them. This is the picnic shelter. This is the one that's located down in the day use area that'll have 8 tables located under. This is, if you recall, I pointed out there was an area of walk-in campsites. It has a vault toilet associated with that. And this is out looking out towards the lake. And there's, I believe, 7 sites located on that walk-in loop. This would be, as you can imagine, it's pretty steep out there in some areas, and so there's a fair number of sites that have safety railings associated with the sites to protect from drop-offs to ensure safety. And so this is an example of a site like that, a smaller one of our sites. This is a larger site that's located out in that walk-in area where no safety railing is needed. This is the path that leads down to where the fishing pier will be located. And we're always really excited to see green grass grow on the site. And then this is again the day use area. It's a sidewalk path, and that picnic shelter that I showed you will sit, it does currently sit right here. And that's an example of a vault toilet that's located there. So this is a site overview for you. I'd be happy to field any questions about the site or the lease that you might have.
Well, Jennifer, I would like to say that I think I speak on behalf of the whole county by saying that we appreciate you and Duke Power's investment in our county, and we appreciate all the hard work. It's going to be something that we will all enjoy, and we really do appreciate that.
We appreciate it as well, and as always, we appreciate the partnership. Actually, Chad Marsh they've been phenomenal to work with. So their input, Commissioner Greene, has been much valued and much appreciated, and we really look forward to the opening and the operation of the continued partnership.
I'd like to add that the accessibility to the public, a lot of times lakes tend to be, and there's a movement to be privatized. I appreciate the fact that Duke has a focus on making sure that the lakes are open to the public. So thanks for that. ADA compliant sites, very, very good. I'm glad you're doing that. And safety and the design of the sites, thank you for doing that also.
There's also a group site where church groups or scout groups, kids from school or whatever, can go out and enjoy that. And we appreciate what Duke has done out there, and it is going to be an absolutely beautiful campground. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the campground, I do want to make a couple notes. There's a lot of thought has gone into this. It's clear, and when you go out there and walk around, there's a tremendous amount of effort that has gone into inclusivity out there, making sure that individuals with special needs have an opportunity to enjoy the outdoors, and that I presented to county manager presented to you on behalf of the standard operating procedure that I presented will go along with making sure that we as a county meet the needs of the general public and don't put it out of price reach and continue to make it accessible from an economic standpoint as well. This is something that we, when I was growing up here in McDowell County, we didn't have this. If you wanted to go to the lake, you skipped school and went out there and hoped to find a rope swing if somebody still left hanging, and that's what you did till somebody ran you off. And this, and also that wasn't necessarily the best way to enjoy the lake. We certainly couldn't afford a boat. My parents couldn't afford much of anything, less a boat. And so this is an opportunity to give folks the chance to go out to what is by all accounts one of the cleanest and most scenic lakes in the state, and go out for a very reasonable amount, which they use is, my recommendation is no charge, for them to go out there and be able to hang out on a picnic ground, walk around in the grass in the bare feet, or let a youngin' throw a night crawler off of a fishing pier. That should be something that everybody has the opportunity to enjoy. But the campground itself, from the primitive sites all the way through, as Commissioner Greene pointed out, the sites that give a more of a community feel. There are 4 pads there for the group site. There's just a tremendous amount of opportunity there for folks to go out and recreate. Not everybody plays ball. Not everybody does that type of recreation. Not everybody goes out and walks on a trail. Some folks, their recreation is camping. They want to get out and they want to convene with what the good Lord's given us to get out and enjoy. And this is going to be an incredible opportunity to do. We are working on, when I say we are going through the process now of pulling some quotes and proposals from individuals here within the county first for some of these cabin sites. Commissioner Greene and I talked a bit about those, and trying to really maximize the pad that exists there. So when we say pad, let me be clear. What we're talking about is taking and tamping down the pea gravel that's going to be there. So you're going to have a relatively flat site, maybe 5 to 10 degrees of slope either side. We just want a little bit of slope, but they're going to tamp each one of those pea gravel areas down and give us a pretty hard site to be able to lay down some sort of maybe 4x4 runner on top of a cabin on top, right? So we feel like it's going to be very reasonable to be able to put all those in there. And again, we're going through the process of trying to find local vendors here, keep taxpayer dollars here in the county for the local businesses. And I'll be ready to present that here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, to the county manager for the board, and we can go from there. But I'll field any questions, sir, about the SOP that you were presented or the brief as given by Mrs. Bennett.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go ahead and approve the lease as presented.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the vote, will say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Sir, as you're going through the lease in the next for the next reading, be happy if anybody has any questions to the county manager. I'll be happy to respond to those. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, I have a couple matters tonight. One of them is was presented to you in your packet, the shooting range usage request. We have members of my staff here, Mr. Greg Barksdale, our range supervisor. Appreciate the work he's done out there. Greg has been absolutely integral to what's going on out there. Greg is a lot like me in the sense that he's not going to tell you no. He's going to try to figure out a way to make it happen, whatever it is that we need and what we're trying to do. He's done a tremendous job out there for the county. Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure I make that note. So I appreciate what Greg's done. Also, members of the shooting stars that are here, and just a matter for record, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just kind of breeze through my note to the board here, my letter to the board, and to the county manager. My staff and I were asked to meet representatives from Shooting Stars Archery in January of this year. The purpose of the meeting was to gain a better understanding of their organization and youth archery programs, and to discuss the possibility of them utilizing the shooting range for future youth archery meets. Shooting Stars is a local organization based here in the county and is currently archers ranging in age from 7 to 17. The youth archers compete in Archery Shooters Association or ASA events and Scholastic 3D Archery or S3DA tournaments. These tournaments are held at various locations throughout the southeastern United States and give competitors an opportunity to take aim at 3D targets that resemble local game animals. Shooting Stars is open to any school-age child, and the organization seeks to compete approximately 10 months out of the year. And just as a note to talk about what they see when they go to these meets, just spoke with the group a few moments ago, and at their most recent one they had over 100 competitors. They said the average is somewhere between 60 or 70 competitors, and so that gives you an idea of the amount of youth that impacts just for this one in particular day or days. Shooting Stars has requested to utilize the McDowell County Shooting Range on 4 dates throughout this year. The dates they have requested coincide with Saturdays, and they are March 25th, April 15th, May 27th, and July the 8th. At our request, Shooting Stars has provided the certificate of liability and has listed McDowell County as a certificate holder, and that's been provided to county admin. Shooting Stars has agreed to provide all necessary manpower to set up, tear down, clean before and after each event, as well as provide safety observers. And they will be bringing out portable restrooms to the site so that it won't impact anything as far as any of our structures or other uses. A member of the shooting range staff, my shooting range staff, will always be present at the range anytime the gate is open, and it won't change for this event. In order to better assist Shooting Stars with the growth of youth archery here in our county, we request that they be allowed to hold their youth archery tournament at the county shooting range on the days they've requested, and that normal fees associated with the county shooting range be waived for these events, only for these events. Additionally, we request to be allowed to close the range to the general public on these days of the archery tournaments. And the reason I've requested that is that the impact that they believe is going to occur is going to be nigh impossible for me to be able to operate both a shooting range tournament and the safety of a firearms shooting range. They have requested that during their warm-up phases to be able to go out into the rifle range area ahead of the baffles and be able to shoot stationary targets there, as well as being able to shoot stationary targets along the berm on the backside of our pistol range. So it's not practical to operate on those particular days, sir. Thank you for your time on this matter, and I'll take any questions, sir.
The competitors, are they mainly local? Is it regional? What kind of?
So there is a local group, sir, with shooting stars, but they do attract others from around the southeast. And so this is, think about it like a traveling meet, or a lot of our kids that participate in all-star events or even travel ball. This is the same thing, but this is archery. So they travel around under different club names and come here and participate in this day.
In your opinion, would that maybe also highlight the shooting range we have there, which might increase users coming to that? Once they get done, they may get up there and say, hey, look at this range, let's go ahead and come back to this at a later date on their own, right?
100%, sir. One of the areas that we are seeing that we need to continue to market and continue to push to grow is archery here in the county, because we have an amazing facility there that doesn't just provide someone an opportunity to come out there and shoot a long rifle or a pistol. We also have the means to be able to come out and shoot different types of archery. And so this, we believe, will be a great opportunity for us to showcase the range as a whole and grow youth archery here in the county and the surrounding area.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request as
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'd just like to say that when Shooting Star came to me about this, Chad and I was really excited about it. I think it's a good thing. Anytime we can get youth involved in good, healthy, safe environment, I think it's just a plus for us. So, all in favor, let say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, as promised to the board when we met in November, in particular with Vice Chair, I promised that at the conclusion of this year's McDowell County Youth Basketball League, I would come back before the board and I would give you the Clint Eastwood version, the good, the bad, and the ugly of my league. And so, in keeping with my promise, I gave a quick summary to the board, and without reading the entirety of it, sir, to the lead of the matter, what I will say to you is this: it is my intention, after reviewing this year's Youth Basketball League, to continue with the way we did our draft, our evaluation, and in the manner that we did so, we felt that it was absolutely spot on with creating an environment that was not only safe, friendly, and competitive, but it was across the board an equal playing field, far more equal playing field for children to come out and enjoy their Saturdays in. I would like to, because I did it last year, sir, just bring for the board some of the information I gave you with respect to the point differentials. And I would like to say that, because we do have a number of citizens here tonight, we do listen to the citizens we hear when they do provide input. And as I left the board that night when I came before the board to get an endorsement on my league, I walked out and the lady followed me out the door. And she said to me, she said, I'd really like to talk with you about something you brought up during your presentation. I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, there was a term that you used that really made me uncomfortable. I knew what she was going to say before she ever said it. The county manager and I had a discussion about it. It's one of those words that historically I think makes people generally uncomfortable. The term was midget. And so what I had told that concerned citizen on the porch here was that is absolutely a term that we don't use lightly, and that I think is an antiquated one that we would look at refreshing. And so with that, we renamed our boys and girls midget leagues, and this year called them Mighty Might. And I feel like the response that we got from the general public was appreciative, but I do want to make that point. That was something that we had thought about, but after some a little bit of prompting, we pushed that forward, and we're proud of the way that came out. In that division, sir, last year, the team that finished first in that division won by a point differential of 23 points. And as a child who grew up here in McDowell County, and had some ups and downs like many of them do, and was involved in situations of addiction and abuse, I can say that sports was very important to me, and to many children in this county, it still is very important. And they don't always have a safe place to be able to call home, but they should have a safe place throughout their day to be able to go and feel like somebody cares about them and an opportunity to have some fun and be a kid. And it didn't, when I sit and look at those numbers, and I think we'll all agree that getting beat by 23 points on an average does not sound like a whole heck of a lot of fun for a kid. And that was one of the reasons that we decided to go out and change the way we drafted and pick. I'm not saying, and I didn't then, that I didn't want people to feel good about winning or to feel pride in their communities, but what I really wanted to stress was that when McDowell County starts taking pride in being part of McDowell County, the entire county will benefit from it, not just one of the 8 communities that are surrounded by our elementary schools. So that's why we did what we did, and it changed from 23 points, ladies and gentlemen, to 8 points. That was the point differential in that group. So when you put a bunch of kids on the floor and you try to teach them, it's hard enough, right? We're herding cats at this age group. But when you get out there and you take them out, and at halftime they feel like they're still in the ball game, they have a chance to win, well, you've done something now. And to give these kids a little hope, that's what we wanted to do. In Mighty Mighty Boys, last year, it was a point differential of 30 points. That was decreased to 12 points. I think it pretty much speaks for itself. In Pee Wee girls, the point differential last season was 20, this season it was 10. And in the point differential for Pee Wee boys, last season it was 32. And boy, we got a good little group there. They're still a really good team, and they won by 27. But what I will say is that the individuals in that entire division got better, because the second place team also won by 20 points. And the third place team only lost by 8. So what we saw is that from 1 through 3 and even all the way through 8, kids had a chance, and they had a chance to win, and that was very important to us. So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to bring that before the board tonight and report on our program. That's a program that not only am I happy with, but I believe it's something that the citizens and the children of our county can be happy with going forward. So.
Well, I just want to say we've got not only got one of the best sheriffs in the state, we've got one of the best EMS directors in the state, and also we have one of the best Parks and Recreation men in the state, and we appreciate what you do. Chad has continually, since he come on board, this thing has grown, and he has shown his love for the kids and for the county, and it's been recognized throughout the state by other counties. And so on behalf of us, we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and so that's a perfect segue, sir. My last report tonight is to tell you about the status of our Little League baseball program. When we got together, Kevin Price and I got together when I took this job, it was within the first month, and we sat down and we talked about it. And through a great deal of prayer and thought and consideration and discussion, it was decided that we would merge these 2 leagues. Because as I reported at that time, Little League had 328 children, and McDowell County Parks and Recreation had approximately 308. Sir, it is with great pleasure that I report to the board that as of today, when I walk in this room, we have over 815 children signed up to participate in McDowell County Little League. We're waiting on the rest of the state to get their numbers together. They're a little behind us, as you might imagine. But we believe we're going to be either the first, second, we certainly know we're no less than the 3rd largest Little League organization in the entire state of North Carolina. And that is because there are so many organizations throughout the state that operate fractured leagues. And it's because they can't collaborate, they refuse to work together. My idea is better than yours. I'm going to go this way because I can make a little money. And what I can say to you, sir, and the rest of the board is that we're just in it for the kids. That's all it's about. And because we're doing that, we've got more people to come to the table now, and the children are benefiting from it. And as we're told in the Bible, iron sharpens iron. And so now these children have an opportunity to compete against one another, and it's going to make them better in the long run. So by the time they go up to the high school and participate as Titans, we're hoping that they're going to be a heck of a little ball club. And so this year, sir, with our ball players, coaches, assistants, and volunteers, we expect to impact well more than 1,000 lives who are going to directly participate in the McDowell County Little League, and we're just awful proud of it. That concludes my report this evening.
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that Chad and his staff are doing an outstanding job, as you've already stated. And I've got a daughter who is playing softball for the first time, and the actual evaluation day was smooth. You guys ran that thing like a sewing machine. Hats off to you, Little League, and the partnership that was created a couple years ago.
Thanks, sir. And in addition to all of that you're doing, you're also planning some improvements to the area out there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing that for the citizens. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to old business, under item A, we've got the 2023 property reevaluation update. We can turn that over to Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little bit of a history lesson, I guess, tonight, a little bit of a journey, how we got to where we are with our reval. We'll talk about present day here in a second, but the prior board, going back in 2019, I believe in September of that year, passed a resolution moving the county from an 8-year cycle to a 4-year cycle. So North Carolina General Statutes requires counties at least every 8 years to revalue property. And up until this year, we've been on an 8-year cycle. And so, again, that board passed a resolution at that time. 4-year cycle is what's recommended by the North Carolina Department of Revenue as more or less the standard. It is employed by 43 other counties in the state. You have some that are still on 8. You have some that are 5 and some with 6, but none shorter than 4 that we can determine. So last week, property owners received notices of their new values. They were set in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 105. That statute is a property tax statute, and it delineates the responsibilities of the county tax assessor. It is the assessor's responsibility to send those notices in the reval year. They're required to provide the property owner the market value as determined by the schedule of values, which has been adopted by the board last fall. That is put together based on sales data for properties in McDowell County itself and nowhere else. It was noted by the county's tax consultant at a prior meeting that McDowell County would likely face significant value increases due to market conditions. So I'll talk about in a second. This trend has been seen throughout North Carolina for counties that are also doing revaluation this year. According to preliminary tax records, we have experienced an approximate 43% in property tax value increases for the entire base, which includes taxable and non-taxable property. The approximate increase of value for taxable properties was approximately 35%. Property owners were provided instructions in their letters outlining the appeal process. As has been previously noted by staff, property owners have multiple appeal opportunities, starting with the informal appeals with county staff, being the assessing staff. I would note, as commissioners, you will likely hear concerns expressed about the revaluation process. We'll note that the Board of Equalization and Review is the appropriate board to actually hear the appeals. Those appeals will begin in earnest towards the end of April and will meet as needed through the end of May. Any questions about the process? I did include a copy of the resolution that was adopted in September 2019, just historical record. There is a reappraisal standards packet in your included in your documents. It's essentially a how-to guide for layman's terms about how reevaluation should be undertaken by counties.
Just one thing that I want to note, the public interest, the reevaluation was done by an independent group that came here, that the county hired to come in here and do the evaluation. Now, some of you may think that we are the ones that done that, and we weren't. We had an independent group that came in and done the reevaluation. Now, we are the ones that you will come to, if the board of D&R, you know, if you have problems, you know, I've got a problem with one of mine, you know. You know, you have the same opportunity as we do to appeal. And if you don't feel you've been treated justly, then you do have that right to appeal and go before the Board of Appeals.
Yeah, I would like that too. I mean, because I know there's several people here tonight about concerning the reevaluation. So with that notice that was mailed out, as the county manager said, there is a form on the back, page 2. And if you feel that that property is not rightly valued, we definitely would encourage you to go through start the process, which would be to go fill that paper out, take it to the county tax office, and then they'll schedule an appointment time later. Mr. Wood, is that how that's right? And they'll sit down there with you. And then what you need to do at that point, when you sit down with them, just give them reasons why you feel the property should be whatever the value should be, okay? Because we've got a very good staff, and we want to, the goal of the reevaluation is to make sure your property is valued at market value. And that's the goal. Maybe, I talked to the lady the other day, she called me and she said that she had a 3-bedroom, 1-bath brick ranch house. And she stated her concerns to me. I said, talk to our staff. Maybe they think your basement is finished out. And maybe they've got you assessed with a full finished basement with duct, heat, and air. And she said she had sold off a little part of that parcel where her house is located at, about a ½ an acre. And I said, maybe they don't realize that. Talk to them. She called me 3 days later and said she went through the process, which was to go there first. And she made staff aware of those concerns she had. And staff had her down with a basement that was finished out. And they did not have that property off the record that she had sold. So we want to encourage you to just make sure your data is accurate and take the first step and go to the county tax office and they'll get your appointment and they can sit down with you and they can make sure that what they've got on the books is what your property is, okay? So we encourage everybody to appeal. If you feel your value is wrong, that's what probably some board members that are sitting up here are probably going to do too. We'll go through the same process you guys will. So that's the beginning point. As the chairman said, if you feel like after meeting with them and the problem's not resolved, you have every right to come before the Board of Equalization Review. That's this board. We get sworn in as that board in April to hear appeals. So I do want to encourage you. Number one, thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate your involvement and definitely want to make sure that your property is not priced a penny above or assessed a penny above what it should be. Okay? So just throwing that out there, make sure you start at the step 1, okay?
One other thing, I noticed we do have some realtors sitting here with us tonight, and I think they could vouch for this statement. When a realtor evaluates your property, you just need to, and basically this is what happened here. It was a licensed real estate attorney that came in and done the appraisal. And you just need to ask yourself, would you sell this property that you have for what they have valued it at? And if you feel like that you would gladly sell it for that price, then that would make me think that, well, maybe you do need to appeal it. So, but if you're thinking no, I absolutely wouldn't take that for it, then maybe you haven't been treated unjustly. But just a question to ask yourself. Okay. Anything else on that, Mr. Wood?
No, sir.
Moving along to item B, the building projects. Go ahead, Mr. Wood.
I'll be quick. We've been meeting with the services building architect. He provided, after this memo was provided to you Wednesday, an update on his schedule. We're a new floor plan for the second floor of the services building. And so we'll be meeting with him very soon to understand if that plan he has is workable for the plans we would like to do there in that building. An old EMS station that's on Garden Street, it's old Station 1. Again, things change after memos were typed. We did have an offer for the building structure that was made on the GovDeals platform. Apparently, that person has withdrawn their bid, and so, unfortunately, so he's not responding to phone calls, emails, and so forth. And so I wanted to ask the board your preference on trying other, we could relist it on Gov Deals for another couple of weeks. Put a banner on the side of it, signs or what have you, put an ad in the paper, or can have it removed.
I think we're gonna do options 1 and 2, post it for another couple of weeks and put a sign on the building itself for those that are not, that don't get on the internet and stuff like that.
I agree.
So you'll set a deadline of what, April 15th?
If you need a motion in that,
That would be helpful.
I'll make a motion for those 2 options.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you. Just an update on the transfer station repairs. Mr. Silver reported, I think last month, that submitted a grant on our behalf for $4 million to the Environmental Protection Agency for a grant that would do enhancements and repairs to transfer station property. We should have that notification in April. If we don't get that grant, the recommendation is just to move forward with improvements to the transfer station structure itself, as well as the road approaching it. So try that as much as possible. And then the last item under this heading is the pavement assessment plan. That was submitted by the engineer that had gone out to our driveways, parking lots, so forth. That is attached. You have already identified and directed staff to tackle the top 3 or 4 parking lots this spring. And so we're currently getting the bid documents together on that. But I would ask that you approve it for future years for budgeting purposes.
It's a pleasure, board.
Mr. Wood, question for you.
Yes, sir.
So, out of all the list we have, what are you recommending moving forward? 5 per year, or is there a certain number you're interested in having the board review? Or?
Probably going to come down more to budget than a number. So, for example, I think the first couple would set aside about $200,000 from that grant we received. And so that's what we're saying every year. That would, be a significant amount of money to do the transfer station road, the road going into Maple Leaf, the other convenient sites that are after Sugar Hill.
So you're saying $200,000 per year to be set aside?
Just a thought, because that's about where we're going to go off in the first.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we set aside moving forward $200,000 a year for paving of county-owned property parking lots.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Wood? Is that all you had to do?
I think a motion to approve the plan.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the plan that's written.
Second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Next is the water system project, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. I do have, again, it's hot off the presses. When this was put together, I did not have any real news on bidding for the Nebo expansion. Friday afternoon late, we received word that the state has granted us permission to go to bid on phase 1, which is great. We're hopefully going to have, within the next 2 weeks, that listed in the paper and all the other trade publications. It's federal money, you usually have to do about a month. So my goal would be to have bids back before you at the May meeting. Phase 1. Phase 2, which is coming back closer to Marion, that design is almost complete, and it will be heading towards permitting very soon. Not much work on the Hobbytown Hollow project that's still in design. ARC project to extend water around exit 90 to a couple businesses there is still pending. I did hear some preliminary news on an ARC application for our effort to extend water towards West Marion Elementary. It was vague but positive that it seemed like an award was coming. So knock on wood for that, but it seemed like that award notification would be coming soon. And as has been shared by staff, the East End water project around the end of NC 126 was awarded, and that was a $2.8 million grant. And so he's no longer with us as far as an employee, but definitely want to thank Lake Silver for his efforts on that grant and probably 2 or 3 others on there. So he's definitely going to be invited to the groundbreaking and ribbon cuttings for a lot of these. So no action on any of these items.
Okay. Next is item D, the opioid agreements, Ms. Greene.
Thank you. This may seem like a repeat to you from a couple of weeks ago. You have previously authorized funding for the attached entities in the resolution. What you have here is a funding authorization resolution that the state has put together. It essentially just lists out all the entities, what funding amount, and what strategy and MOA they're going to address. So I'd ask for you to approve that, as well as a contract concept that we will be implementing. We do not have a contract yet. The Association of County Commissioners has promised to send a template soon, but we'd like to get that going. It'll have no obligation on the county other than to provide funding if the agencies meet the requirements we put upon them.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the resolution and to authorize the agreement with each of the entities that were approved last month.
Second. Any other discussion?
On that, can we, will they be letting us know specifically how they spend that money?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very specific.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next is the pilot plant, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. The pilot plant is the former small animal processing facility that was constructed around 2010 on 226 South near the Ag Barn. As you all know on the board, the facility was shut down about 6 or 7 years ago. The county essentially was given that building back by the entity and have studied various uses for it since then. The county has been approached, as you know, by various parties that would like to purchase the property. And so I believe at the January meeting, you authorized an appraisal of the property and the building, as well as an additional acre and the equipment that is in the facility. There's a typo on here. I'll get to that in a second. There's an appraisal that is attached for the building for $250,000. That includes the surrounding grounds that are already graded. The appraiser also put a $3,100 value on the equipment. It's greatly depreciated from its original purchase. It's very well used and not been maintained for 6 or 7 years. And he set an $18,000 value on an additional acre behind the facility. The typo is on the offer that's been made. An offer of $275,000 has been made for the property, which is in the attached email. You do not have to accept that offer, of course. If you would like to do so and accept it, we would then enter into an upset bid process to where this price plus percentage will be advertised in the McDowell News. But you can wait on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion. Okay. Mr. Chairman, make a motion we approve the offer of $275,000, which is above the actual appraisal of the site and equipment.
Motion and second. But the only thing I was going to say was maybe we could get them to come back in and sit down and talk to them again. But we've got a motion and second, so we'll go ahead with that. Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting that? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Wood, thank you. Next, on new business, under item A, we've got the budget update, which we saw.
Thank you. So I've taken information you're receiving every month and just repackaging it a little bit. Just wanted to highlight it as that time of year for budget. In the rear of your packet, you have all of the expenditure and revenue line items for the county. You also have the sales tax report for revenue we're receiving under that. That's for 5 months of data. The 6th month of data was in my inbox when I got in here today. You also have, and I'll show that the property tax collection through February was 97.14%, which is above last year's percentage at this point. In the theme of budget, I do have budget amendments, GF 32 through 42 and School Project Fund 1, as well as the North Main Street Project Ordinance amendment that we ask you to approve.
Move to approve the amendments.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the amendments as read. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman, if you could, Mr. Wooten, forward us the data you have for the 6 months now sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, under item B is the Golden Leaf site grant, Mr. Wood.
Thank you. The county's property at the end of College Drive, the Universal property, as you know, currently have contractors grading about 10 acres that will eventually be sold to Forza, the boat company that was announced last summer. That grading is happening at the expense of the Golden Leaf Foundation via a grant that was provided about 12, 14 months ago with no county cost. The Golden Leaf Foundation is asking for submissions on another round of this program. We have additional desire to do more grading in that small industrial park there. And so Mr. Abernathy and his staff are now working on a grant with a maximum of $5 million of Golden Leaf funds. There's no county match, so it would be a good opportunity for anyone to get it. Ask for approval.
Make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I think it's great that we can take Golden Leaf money, be awarded that money, and then clear sites out, then turn around and sell the land to a company that's going to provide good paying jobs to people in DeKalb County, and be a diverse employer with electric EV.
I had the opportunity to go up and look at one of the prototypes. Maybe some of y'all have seen it as well. Pretty impressive.
How many are they planning to employ?
They're going to work in phases, probably close to 150, 170, 180.
I've already had people asking about when can they go apply for jobs there. What's the second site though, if awarded the $1.5 million, roughly how big of a square foot building would that pad be?
We're trying for upwards of 200,000 square feet. It's probably going to be closer to 150 at a maximum, just with the amount of grading that's required.
And it is the south of that property.
That's right.
It's the south of that property up there at Universal.
We've got a motion and a second.
Yes.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on that. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next item C, Mr. Wood, Board of Education calendar request.
Yes, sir. I've been county manager for 7 or 8 years, and I think about every one of those years, this board has petitioned the General Assembly for local calendar flexibility for our local school system. As you know, that the local Board of Ed has no ability to set the schedule as they wish based on tying into the college schedule or anything else. And so this resolution would request our delegation pass a bill and send it to the governors and allow flexibility.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams. Next is the safe grant for Marion. Mr. Williams.
Thank you. Pretty late Wednesday, I received a call from the city manager. They had identified a grant round of the SAFER program, which is FEMA funding for fire and rescue departments. This is a grant that they would like to apply for 3 firefighters. And for 3 years, 100% of the cost is covered by federal funds. And then in year 4, it would be a step down to local funding. And so the county and city have an agreement to where half of the cost of that Marion Fire Department is borne by the Marion area taxpayers and half is borne by the city taxpayers, which is based on the approximation of population as well as tax base. And so you are required, per your interlocal agreement, the city is required to ask of your permission before grant is submitted.
Please, the board.
Question for staff. So 217 now, 3 years from now, they get it, it covers 3 years. Where's the money going to come from on year 4 to pay for it? Our half. Can the Marion district, with the current rate, without the rate being raised, handle that?
It's hard to tell based on what I know and what we know about continuing cost increases with equipment, with fuel, with employee costs as they are now with existing employees. They're having to be competitive with other departments in the region. So it would honestly be hard to say, yes, I can absolutely guarantee on year 4 that the district's taxpayers and that tax rate could fully cover that expense. And the 217 is the total amount, and so half of it would be the area.
We do currently have an agreement that they pay half and we pay half. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And Marion Fire Department is dispatched out in the county at times.
That's right. So they definitely cover the area. They also cover their automatic response to every fire district in the county except for Greene.
The only issue that I have is the $217,000 now. That is at current insurance rates, current benefits rates. And as far as getting that, I do think that we need to ask the question to the, we got to understand where that is, and if we can't postpone this until our next meeting, if we don't have that in there, but we have to have some type of budget estimate of what they see their benefits and total package being, because it could be 250 or more 3 years down the road, depending. As you said, you don't know about fuel, don't know about insurance, don't know about all of the total package. And
what is their current fire rating? Do you know?
Marion is a 3.
3.
I think
But a business can that helps the business, but the lowest you can go for residential is what, 5? 5.
Mm-hmm.
5.
As far as insurance,
Mm-hmm.
Personal homeowner insurance, stuff like that, yes.
The timing, again, Mr. Boyd, I apologize for the short notice. The grant deadline is Friday. We have been in situations before where a grant was identified with short notice and timing. It's an authorization is sought. You can always withdraw, if a grant was awarded at that point. That's not ideal.
Can you review the history real quick? So I know that the cities applied for separate grants, so they applied for 6 positions last year?
That's right. I believe before that it was 3 employees and then it was
3 to
6.
6 and then back to 3, right?
It's a very competitive grant. And
I'd like to
so
see
especially
too,
for staffing.
I'd like to see us sit down with them and talk about how, because if they're not getting awarded the grants and there's a true need, we need to address it in form of, would one person try to phase it in to where we can let the district, without a tax increase in that district, handle, would it be sufficient to hire one employee and then still try to go for grants, of course, but we've got to try to address that problem somehow, and we're not having any luck with grants.
And specifically, the tax you're talking about is the fire tax.
MA district, yes, because we pay, the county share comes strictly out of the MA fire tax district, correct?
That's right, yes, sir. District taxpayers.
With that being said, I am going to make a motion with the, that we have to have a clear budget of what they perceive their budget being at the end of the 3-year period. I do think we need to be looking at, from our side, where's the additional money going to be coming from, and so that they understand, yes, go ahead and apply for the grant, but after that funding is finished, we have to have an out if it's blown out of proportion, way above our budget.
Are you saying that you don't want to stand in the way of them applying for the grant?
That is correct. I would like for that to be able to happen, but they have to let us know what they think their forecasted budget's going to be 3 years down the road, number one. And then number two, our staff needs to work with those numbers and see if we can get those numbers without having to raise the fire tax.
And if awarded the grant, 3 years comes, 3 years go. I mean, that gives us time to work on, can it be sustained after the 3 years? And if it can't, then, it was just.
Is that clear enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's my motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Administrative items, Mr. Boone.
You only have one item there, since we moved amendments elsewhere for EMS write-offs.
Make a motion to accept them as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Board appointments, Madam Clerk.
Yes, so this is the second reading for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. There is still currently one vacancy to serve on the council, which is a faith-based seat. So anybody in the community that wants to apply to serve on that council, you can go to the county website or just come into my office and apply that way. The Historic Preservation Commission is being reinstated. I actually received an application today, so we'll do that next month. So we are accepting applications for prospective members for that commission. Candidates need to have a demonstrated special interest, experience, or knowledge in history, architecture, or related disciplines. At the start of this meeting, I handed out a ballot sheet to all 5 of the commissioners to vote for the Library Board of Trustees. This is the second reading. I received 3 applications and there were only 2 vacancies, one of which was a reappointment. And the 3 applications were Sharon Klein, which was the reappointment, Jennifer Holmes, and Lisa Holmes. And according to the ballots from all 5 commissioners, it was a clear vote that the 2 that were voted in are Sharon Klein for the reappointment to continue serving on the Library Board of Trustees, and the new appointee, her name is Lisa Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next, item G is tax matters, Mr. Wood.
These are your typical rebills, releases, and refunds.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the leases and rebills as presented.
Second. Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is citizen comments, Madam Clerk. Okay, next is Commissioner staff reports.
Yes, sir.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned, second.